Alright, hello. I'm gonna have a new Twitter account in the description because I can't get it back from the Dominican. And I just wanted to make sure that it was my authentic voice saying that I had another account. It's kind of a shit show, but if anything changes, I'll also let people know about that. Anyways, I wanted to get into this one with a really quickie with hair. Why don't I just show a... Let me get, like, two really sketchy heads in right here. Alright. Okay. Now, let me just show you the good way to do it, which is generally kind of have an imaginary idea of where you want, like, the hair to be, or, like, even, like, the hairline, sort of, like, kind of moon crescented right here or whatever. See, it's like, you know, relatively young, like larger size forehead, but you have right here is the blowhole area. You're gonna have that in your imagination for whenever you tackle hair. Now, say this is like medium long hair, goes down sort of like past the neck area a little bit. It curves down like that, and sort of a spiral, right? Let's make it kind of a bob, like that chick from what's the show I'm thinking of? Prison School, right? A little bit like that. And you just kind of come in and arbitrarily connect some of those areas, swoop it downwards, and give it some cohesive shape, more or less. Now, that looks kind of turdy because, you know, I just kind of, you know, is a little banana-headed. Let me go in and try to, like, erase some of the finer details, and there you go, you have a perfect circle. Remember SpongeBob, kids? Let me see here. Yeah, some things never change. I don't go for coherent in these videos, by the way, if that's not obvious. So yeah, you know, I erased some of the finer details, and there you go, something. Supposed to be something like that, something simple like that, or even give her a little bit of cowlick right there. See, just like how my space girl is or something. And there, you gave her a bit of a face. Now here's somewhat of a all right, check mark. That's a good way to do it when you have like a focal point right there, and you spiral outwards, right? Bad way to do it is just sort of. I don't know, guessing and just moving around it. This is bad. This makes you lose your job. This makes people want to fucking rotate you into a goddamn croissant. This is terrible. This one's terrible. Don't be this one at all. That's bad. This is good. Why is this good? Because let's even take it from like a top view. Like here's a head from the top view. There's a little nose right there from the top view. Now, rotate this around. So now right here, because you have like, again, imagine the imaginary blowhole, the center of the head. You have spiraling happening almost all the fucking time. In fact, sometimes if it's like if you look at if you go out into the wilderness and find like some black kid who got like a fresh cut or whatever, right? Put an ear right there, a little nose indication right there, right? And you see his hairline, you know, he's got a fresh cut and all that. Sometimes you'll see that spiral starting from over here, kind of, or whatever, right? And that leads to seeing sort of a... I'm trying to quickly get the profile of a face right here. And that leads to getting there. Good lord. Okay. That leads to having hairlines that are kind of, you know, because it spirals out like that, you have hair that kind of, as it grows, goes like this, right? Naturally. That's typically the direction that it ends up going in, right? So, with all that out of the way, let me see here. Because let me do that last one again. That last little bob haircut thing again, because other than just trying to get the idea of where to centrifugally have everything, what's also important to note is having an understanding of the overall shape of the hair. So come down here with sort of like that Yui bob again, or whatever, with very jagged punk-like, very jagged, very punk-like bangs. Why don't I shape that up a little bit? Let me get a little more shape, and that's what I wanted to get into, is shapeliness. Now, this, hold on. Let me give her eyes right here again. Now this is a penis shape. That's the shape of the hair right there. That's typically, because if you could dissect this type of hairstyle into 3 different parts. Here are like the wings, and it's shaped like that, right? And it's all connected up here. So I mean that still rotates around the head. And then there's this other part right here, which just indicates that bang area. And in between it are just these other little areas that helps to divide things up, you know? And one thing to keep in mind is consistent swooping. You're going to want to always have nice swoops going on there. It also depends on, because like say if the hair was a lot straighter, if like the, get another head right here. Get another head right here. Now, say it was more of like straight bangs, right? I'm not doing more of the girl hairstyles, but you know, guy hairstyles are just, you know, kind of shorter and messy. So this will sort of help for other stuff. But anyways, so say if it was like more or less straight bangs, come down right here. And by the way, because of how hair works, if it's long, typically, I mean, it's not gonna, no hair is gonna be like, say here's like the skull, right? The hair would probably start right around there, but the further down you go, there's more distance between this area and that area. But you know, that's just how whenever hair falls down and it feathers out, that's, you know, that's how you establish some kind of volume or whatever. But say it comes down here like some panty and stocking sort of thing, or like, yeah, I'm blanking on her name. Why? Oh yeah, Hinata. I was thinking Orihime. Wrong anime. Anyways. Also, excuse me if this sounds like shit. I'm just, I don't have sound dampening, and I do not give a single shit who has, to say about it. Because I will not be listening back to this that often to care. Anyways, aside from the quality assurance right there, anyways, so whenever you have these basic shapes, this area right here, which is kind of like a, you know, like a toenail, thumbnail sort of area, just a little dome, and this area kind of literally drapes like curtains, right? And within that area, let me reset, go back, you still want to make sure there's some kind of rotundancy there. So sometimes you'll end up with like sort of dividing the hair up like that or something, right? Hold on, let me. Yeah, alright, there we go. You divide the hair up like something like that, right? So it'll always kind of, you'll never break that continuity no matter what shape it's in. So the difference between these two right here is that, like, the similarities is how it's spiraling out, like I was saying. The differences are just where it ends up when it spirals. For her, it goes something like this. See that? How they like taper from like one level to the next, and that corresponds to the overall shape. Yeah, it's pretty easy to understand. And with hers, it goes like that or whatever, right? And it all has to conform to the relative same shape right there. And any kind of like breakaway hairs you have right there should sort of taper itself into the overall dimensions or the shape of the just overall how like the hair is rounded or whatever, right? And it helps to think about it as like three-dimensional shapes. So think about hair as like it's a covering, you know? It's like it's almost like a hoodie or something. So I mean, like, whenever you have, you know, little complicated angles like this, where it's sort of more or less top down or something, right? Like that or whatever. Like, it's best to always keep in mind, and the placement of the ear always helps, but just to make sure that when I do like the again, a simple sort of bob shape again, that because it has like outwards dimensionality, things like come out whenever it's shaped like that, right? It's almost exactly like sort of a hoodie or like a caped thing. So I don't know what kind of tip that really is, other than just to say, like, yes, hair is shaped on its own. It doesn't always just straight up conform to like the body in such a way. Although good ways to indicate that would be like what comes to mind right now. Let me get these are rough. Let me get another head right here. Another good way to indicate sort of the shape, like how hair kind of like shapes itself to conform to the rest of the body, is like how hair can conform to like the shape of the skull right there or whatever. Come down and like it'll shape its way around the cheeks and all that. That's one of the times where, you know, that's an example of how like hair would exemplify its, like, you know, the shape of the person, or like the immediate parts of that person, right? Because it's rounded based on that type of environment. So I mean, you would even have people with like this sort of situation right here, where like the hair kind of, you know, clicks back because it's still growing out, but it's also kind of hindered by like the shoulder or the back area, you know? Sort of do the same right there, right? So, and again, it's all just kind of coming out, doing that sort of thing. It's messy, it's feathered, but all of it conforms, no matter how chaotic. It all has like these conforming shapes, directions, and stuff. Sort of like very interesting ratios as well, because it looks good messy like this or whatever, but if you have too many of this sort of going on, like too many hairs that are literally the same size or whatever, like the same length, it kind of makes it seem like it was like a bad haircut sort of situation, which if that's what you're going for, you do that. But if you want to make it seem like, you know, there was some kind of cohesion there, you would make sure that a lot of these are kind of like varying sizes and stuff before it like breaks up into different areas, you know, just to keep it more or less interesting. And of course, in the most simplest of ways, especially when it comes to hair like this, shading is always in these darker regions right there, you know, and highlights can, in my case, I love, because I like to sort of be the voice of reason for the simple. The voice of the simple. Highlights can often be something like this or whatever, right? And it kind of breaks up right there. Or they can be, because this is a round area, it could also be kind of like just circles like that or whatever, you know? Or maybe even a combination of the two, I don't know. I know, you would never, you would, okay, that's a good thing to mention. You don't need to layer highlights like that, it's stupid. Don't ever do that. Like, highlights of the hair, not highlights as in, like, the dyed parts of the hair or anything, but, like, you know. It's, these are things that you pick up on. These are things that you, like, you know, get a bit of a sense for after a while. And I'm just going to keep it all in the sketch phase, so it's a lot faster to get through this, because this is going to be a quickie. But, yeah, even with, like, shadows of the hair, because, of course, it comes... Like, say, here's the nose, here's the forehead, here are the eyes, here's the eye. The hair comes out like this far, you know? like that far. It's not like right up against the head. So whenever it's casting a shadow, it'll often cast it like somewhere around here, or around there, or you know, anywhere it's most comfortable for it to fall in that regard. And again, just get a feel for it. Always just keep it simple. You don't always have to put shadows against the forehead like that, as long as you at least get it on the back, or, I mean, and like simple, or in areas where it makes sense or whatever, and like, you know, I guess I should also say, like, you know, highlighting sort of things for hair like that. You would almost never see it. Highlights usually, if you're going to see it, especially if it's like a straight highlight like that, and just take the sketch and in your head, like imagine filling it with some kind of color. If you do that, you kind of imply that this area is flat, like it's all uniform, like there's a sheen there or something. But in this case, you probably wouldn't see much of a highlight. If you did, it'd probably be really broken up, sporadic, kind of like that or something. Like there's some element of cohesion there, but not that much. But you know, that's just for the wild childs. Most of the wild child hair won't really have much of like highlights to speak of, really. But yeah, I think that's pretty much good. That'll do it. So again, got a new Twitter account. I don't know what's gonna happen with the old one. I kind of don't care. As long as my right now my Newgrounds and my Patreon are up and running, they're doing just fine. So yeah, I'll catch you there. Again, sorry if this sounds like pure shit. I do not. This is not a recording studio. This is a bedroom. All right.